Hello. Been a while, but we're back to shells. On the shell theme, in addition to the dialectics of small and large, the imagination is stimulated by the dialectics of creatures that are free and others that are in fetters. And what can we not expect from those that are unfettered? To be sure, in real life, a mollusk emerges from its shell indolently. So if we were studying the actual phenomena of snail behavior, this behavior would yield to observations with no difficulty. If, however, we are able to recapture absolute naivete in our observation itself, that is, really to re-experience our initial observation, we should give fresh impetus to the complex of fear and curiosity that accompanies all initial action on the world. We want to see, and yet we are afraid to see. This is the perceptible threshold of all knowledge, the threshold upon which interest wavers, falters, then returns. The example at hand for the purpose of indicating the fear and curiosity complex is not a sizable one. Fear of a snail is calmed immediately. It is an old story. It is insignificant. But then this study is devoted to insignificant things. Occasionally they reveal strange subtleties. In order to bring them out, I shall place them under the magnifying glass of the imagination. These undulations of fear and curiosity increase when reality is not there to moderate them, that is, when we are imagining. However, let's not invent, but rather give documents concerning images which have actually been imagined or drawn, and which have remained engraved in precious and other stones. There is a passage in the book by Jurgis Baltrou-Sétis, in which he recalls the action of an artist who shows a dog that leaps from its shell and pounces upon a rabbit. 1 degree more of aggressiveness and the shell dog would attack a man. This is a clear example of the progressing type of action by means of which imagination surpasses reality. For here, the imagination acts upon not only geometrical dimensions, but upon elements of power and speed as well. Not in an enlarged space either, but in a more rapid tempo. When the motion picture camera accelerates the unfolding of a flower, we receive a sublime image of offering. It is as though the flower we see opening so quickly and without reservation sensed the meaning of a gift, as though it were a gift from the world. But if the cinema showed us a snail emerging from its shell in fast motion, or pushing its horns towards the sky very rapidly, what an aggression that would be! What aggressive horns! All our curiosity would be blocked by fear, and the fear-curiosity complex would be torn apart. There is a sign of violence in all these figures in which an overexcited creature emerges from a lifeless shell. Here the artist precipitates his animal daydreams. Since they belong to the same type of daydreams, we must associate abbreviations of animals that have their heads and tails fastened together, the artist having neglected to show the intermediary parts of their bodies, with these snail shells from which emerge quadrupeds, birds, and human beings. To do away with what lies between is, of course, an ideal of speed. Thanks to a sort of acceleration of the imagined vital impulse, the creature that emerges from the ground immediately assumes its physiognomy. But the obvious dynamism of these extravagant figures lies in the fact that they come alive in the dialectics of what is hidden and what is manifest. A creature that hides and withdraws into its shell is preparing a way out. This is true of the entire scale of metaphors, from the resurrection of a man in his grave to the sudden outburst of one who has long been silent. If we remain at the heart of the image under consideration, we have the impression that, by staying in the motionlessness of its shell, the creature is preparing temporal explosions, not to say whirlwinds, of being. The most dynamic escapes take place in cases of repressed being, and not in the flabby laziness of the lazy creature whose only desire is to go and be lazy elsewhere. If we experience the imaginary paradox of a vigorous mollusk, the engravings in question give us excellent depictions of them. We attain to the most decisive type of aggressiveness, which is postponed aggressiveness, aggressiveness that bides its time. Wolves in shells are crueler than stray ones.